Specific adaptation. The actual adaptation helps you to survive. The type of adaptation is really closely related to the type of stress. The chameleon does not suddenly change into a random rainbow fairy tale color. It turns into a very, very specific color to blend in with the surroundings. So, have you ever wondered, when you sit in a bathtub for a long time, you get all these wrinkly fingers? Why? Why do you get wrinkly fingers? Yes, they become a little bit softer, but why? Yes, there is more water coming into the skin and the skin swells up a little bit, but why? What is the use? Imagine the body has a very specific purpose for making the wrinkly hands. What could it be? I was actually stunned that up to 2013, they had no clue why. It's almost only a recent discovery why we get wrinkly fingers. And what they noticed in research is that with the wrinkly fingers, you have a much better grip under the water. Just like the threads of tires that allow your tire to have more grip on the road, with wrinkly hands, you can grab stuff better out of a body of water. It's almost like if your body adapts to living in the water, it's almost like a hyper evolution to live in the water. Actually, the wrinkly hands are 12% faster in grabbing any marbles out of the water. And this study was published in Nature in 2013. So it's almost like your body starts becoming a mermaid. It starts to adapt, it starts to evolve into a water being. As soon as you go out of the water again, the wrinkly hints start disappearing. And the skin normalizes. And this is so that sharp objects, like the harder, sharper rocks that we encounter out of the water, we can handle them better. So actually our skin needs to be thicker to prevent damage or cutting ourselves. So the entire adaptation process is adapting very, very, very specifically to the situation, to the perception, to the situation that the body is in. In this case, turning into a mermaid and going back to living on land, we need to adapt again back to normality, in this case, not to cut our fingers. So for example, if we perceive a lack of water, for example, in the desert, what do we need to do? What does our body need to do to survive? What does the body need to do to survive? Is there not enough water available? It needs to save water, right? It needs to retain all the water that is inside our body. So what it basically does is we sweat less, we excrete less, we create less urine, so we need to have to pee less. Everything in the body is geared towards storing water, holding on to the water because there is not enough water outside. So what if a dog or a bear ate some plastic, which is not digestible by the stomach acid? So when we eat that, the body starts to see if more stomach acid can actually start digesting the food. So it creates more acidity and more acid into the stomach to try to decompose, start to digest that system or that plastic. This is the way the body adapts. It adapts. I had some food that I cannot digest. What do I need to do to see if I really can digest it? What happens in the wild when a puppy died? For example, in the lion world, what happens when the mother loses her cub? In effect, when the mother loses her job, which is kind of funny, the puppy is kind of her job, but when she loses her puppy, she becomes in heat again. She has more sex drive, more in heat, more hormones, which allow her to be pregnant faster to get a new puppy. Actually, in the lion world, that's pretty amazing. What happens is when a grown-up lion finds a female lion that he's interested in, but the female already has a puppy or a cub, he actually kills that cub so that he can create his own offspring. After she loses her cub, she becomes more in heat again, and the male lion can impregnate the female lion again. What happens when you're about to pierce your skin or when you have pierced your skin? The body adapts to that, at least in the first couple of weeks after that, is by making the skin thicker to protect it against the same kind of force. So these are very, very specific examples how the body adapts to, in this case, some physical examples. But like we learned with the lemon exercise, there's no difference between physical experience and emotional experience. So because when you think of the lemon, your saliva glands start working harder. Let's do an exercise with that. It's kind of a research exercise. So what reactions do you have, or do we have, when we are cold? And why is that useful? So for example, we're in a lower temperature, our core body temperature is lowered because we're sitting in the cold water for a long time, or we're sitting in the wind for a long time. What happens to the body? And even more important, why is that specific reaction useful? Almost like if your body was not doing that, you actually want your body to do that because it's a very specific use. So what reactions do we have when we're cold, and why is that specific physiological reaction useful? I'll give you one hint. One hint is of the reaction we're having is shivering. Why? One of the reactions is raised hairs. Why? That's the assignment. Ready? Go.
Now remember to subscribe to this channel so you never miss anything. Just hit the subscribe button.